Well, today is Mother's Day, May 11th, 2025. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms around the world. Strangely enough, it's one of the few days that coincides around the world on the same day. So happy Mother's Day. We wouldn't be here without you. So thank you so much around the world, and happy Mother's Day to my mom and my wife. Congratulations, guys. Hopefully you had a nice day. A lot to talk about in today's show. We have the Bitty sitting sideways, but a couple of the alts are pumping, and a couple of the alts are also going sideways. There was definitely this usual Bitcoin first setup where Bitcoin pumps, then Ethereum, who's really was leading the pack, up 30%, pumps, and then this is effectively what alt season starts, or when alt season starts. Ethereum pumps and all the alts start pumping. So generally, that's what we're looking for. When we want to know when alt season's starting, it's when Ethereum starts its push to its all-time high. And when it gets to its all-time high, that's also when it's going to pull up the rest of the shitcoins with it. So often what will happen is Ethereum will go up, let's say 3x, 5x. It'll hit its cycle peak. But a lot of these altcoins will be up, 10, 20, 30, 50% or 50x. So something definitely to look at. On today's show, we're going to talk about Twitter's founder who is telling investors his path to $1 million Bitcoin. Has a lot to do with interest rates. Also, CryptoAnalyst says 2025 will be the year Bitcoin hits the bull market peak and unveils their upside price targets for Bitcoin. All this and so much more in today's show. Welcome, folks, to CryptoNews Global. I'm your host, Nick Toka. Let's get right into some technical analysis. A lot to talk about today. We've got the Bitty going sideways, just around 104,000. Ethereum down almost 3%, 2,506. Solana down 2%, 172 bucks. Cardano down 3%, 80 cents. XRP down 3.5%, $2.36. Doge down 6%. So we're seeing some of the gains that were taken over the past couple of days slowly giving back. Certainly not as much as the gains. Some of these cryptos, Ethereum was up 30%, Doge was up 15%, XRP was up a little bit, Solana was up quite a bit. Taking a look at the crypto bubbles, let's see what's happening in the past hour. So it looks like things might be taking a turn back into the green, at least in the past hour. For the day, we've got about 80-90% in the red, except, of course, Peanut, the squirrel, pumping 25% as we speak for the day. For the week, every single coin pretty much is in the green, including Cato up 150%, Peanut up 160%. And for the month, we've got Deep Book up, the big winner, 230%. Peanut the Squirrel, 206%. Turbo, 224%, which is some kind of meme here. I haven't heard of this one, but definitely a very good jump. And for the year, we've got some of these outliers, which you don't see. I mean, these things made their gains a long time ago. I know this Onyx coin has been actually down for quite some time, but we see it up here. These are gains that these things had a long time ago. Going by the month is probably a better indicator of how certain cryptos and alts have been doing. Taking a look at the hash rate, the total hash rate is down a little bit today, but still over 900 billion terahashes a second, 905 billion terahashes a second. And we see that the M2 money supply is taking another jump here. Let's zoom in. Look at this spike. So this is based on 2021 central banks, pardon me. And we should see, as we see identically here, take a look at this path here right until this spot, and then take a look at this path right until this spot. So what comes next is a parabolic huge jump. And if we look before that, all right, look at this head and shoulders type pattern here, and we've got the same pattern. So generally we're looking at 60 to 90-day price where the Bitcoin price follows the M2 money supply. So whatever happens in the M2, 60 to 90 days happens to the BITI. So we're very, very closely following this thing, and we see that all of a sudden the M2 money supply has spiked quite a bit, and we're waiting for that same spike to happen here. If we zoom right back out to the full M2, you'll notice that the M2, of course, is in pink. We will notice that there's a strong correlation between the M2 money supply and the Bitcoin price all the way back from 2013. It doesn't get much closer than this. Let's face it, this is a slight anomaly in the price right here, but every other point in time, we've got this almost overlapping. So I do anticipate, as we zoom in again, this spike here is going to play out in the crypto market as well. Total market cap right now of the BITI is 2,060 billion, pardon me. Ethereum 302 billion, XRP 138 billion, Solana 89 billion, Doge 34 billion, Cardano 28 billion, Tron 25 billion, Sui 13 billion, Chainlink 11 billion, and AVAX 10.2 billion. Looking at the total crypto market cap, it is sitting at $3.27 trillion, with Bitcoin holding 63% of that, Ethereum 9.2%, and XRP 4.25%. Now, just a few days ago, before the big pump, Bitcoin held almost 66%. It was 65.5%, and you see it's dropped quite a bit. So what happens is some of the liquidity, some of the money that used to be in Bitcoin, people get a little more adventurous, and then they start putting their money in these other coins like Ethereum, and then it trickles down to the lesser coins after that. So we see that Ethereum's market cap has jumped 2%. Bitcoin's has dropped 2%. So the money from Bitcoin effectively entered Ethereum. Crypto Fear and Greed Index, currently we're sitting at a 70 in greed. Yesterday was also a 70 in greed, and last week a 64 in greed. There's 1,067 days until the next Bitcoin halving in 2028, with 153,679 blocks until the halving. Total market cap by asset, we've got gold has lost some ground, now sitting exactly at 22 trillion bucks. Microsoft at 3.2 trillion, Apple at 2.9 trillion, Nvidia at 2.8 trillion, Bitcoin number 5 overall at 2.06 trillion, ahead of Amazon 2.04 trillion, Google 1.8 trillion, Silver 1.8 trillion, Saudi Aramco 1.6 trillion, and Facebook fuckbook $1.4 trillion. You can currently get 962 Satoshis for 1 fiat US dollar. I don't know if we're ever going to see that number go to 1,000 or over 1,000 again. Remember, when this gets to 1, Bitcoin is at $100 million. So Bitcoin can be divided into 100 million Satoshis. So if this gets to 100, then that means the price is 10 million. If it gets to 10, pardon me, if it gets to 100 million, it's $100 million Satoshi equals $100 million Bitcoin equals 1 Satoshi. $10 million Bitcoin equals 10 Satoshis, and $1 million Bitcoin equals 100 Satoshis. So we're going to keep this number in mind. We look at it every day, and it keeps coming down. There was a point when, it was thousands of Satoshis for one fiat US dollar, and now it's under 1,000 for one fiat US dollar. And into the fiat we go with the US national debt of $36,837,000,000,000. That equals to $107,609 per US citizen, or $323,000 per taxpayer. The Doge clock shows us that Department of Government Efficiency has saved $419 billion to the U.S., and that equals to $3,738 per U.S. taxpayer. So quite a savings. Pretty much $1,000 a month per taxpayer is what they've saved. So congratulations and kudos to those folks over at Doge. No matter how many of their car dealerships get burned down, they're still doing a good job. No matter what CNN and NBC tell you, the facts are right there. The facts are that they have saved each U.S. taxpayer $3,738, and that's in about 3.5 months. So it really works out to $1,000 a month. So very nice, very nice. Happy for them. Twitter's founder has got some good news. He's warning to investors could be why Bitcoin hits $1 million. And it's not so much of a warning, it's more of an informational thing here. Let's read in. Silicon Valley circles have long viewed Jack Dorsey as the next Steve Jobs because his rich powers as tech powers are in the same league. Twitter has changed the world, and Dorsey's Square payments company, Cash App, was a very early corporate innovator in Bitcoin. Way back in 2019, Cash App started offering Bitcoin custody services that account holders could buy with their credit card. Overnight, its users began doing on a smaller scale precisely what has made MicroStrategy now Strategy, a Wall Street sensation more lately. Today, Square is named Block. Its shares just plunged by 20% to start off May. Dorsey warned investors of a turbulent time for the U.S. consumer strength. Ironically, while that's not good news for Block's business model, it could be the catalyst that drives Bitcoin's price to $1 million. Consumer weakness to spur Fed rate cut. After Block's earning report, the CEO of one of the largest payment processing apps in the world said consumer spending has shifted dramatically. This coincided with inflows coming in below expectations. During the quarter, non-discretionary Cash App card spending in areas like groceries and gas was more resilient, while we saw a more pronounced impact on discretionary spending in areas like travel and media. We believe this consumer softness was a key driver for our forecast. So basically, people are still spending money on groceries and gas, in fact, a little bit more, but they are not traveling and spending more money on media. So discretionary spending, shit that you don't need, the stuff that I've been talking about, where you buy one piece of plastic crap and then 3 years later you replace it with a fancier, newer piece of plastic crap, right? So people are spending less of that and going on less trips and less on media. So the cutbacks on spending drove lower sales in quarter one, which saw the U.S. economy shrink for the first quarter in 3 years. If this happens for a second quarter in a row, it meets the most commonly used definition of a recession by formal economists. And so we're looking at the end of June, and then we're going to see what happens. Normally, a little bit after that is when they'll come out with the report. So if it shrinks, if the economy shrinks again, then it's technically a recession. As a result of a recession, the central bank is amped to cut interest rates. So Powell and the Feds are going to end up cutting interest rates if this goes into a recession. To get businesses going again, a CNBC survey finds rate cuts likely this year due to wobbling economy. That could be what launches Bitcoin price again to the $1 million level, as Dorsey previously predicted. Dorsey's forecasted a $1 million Bitcoin by 2030. When the Fed cuts rates when they cut rates in 2007, 2008, Bitcoin started operating for the first time. During the ensuing multi-year low interest rate regime, Bitcoin price soared from thousands of a penny to $20,000 by 2017. By then, the Fed had raised rates again and Bitcoin price had crashed. It began to recover after the Fed slashed rates again in 2020 and soared to a record high of $69,000 by November 2021. The landscape seems rather similar now, but Bitcoin's price is actually well above 100 grand, even after the Fed's third consecutive refusal to lower interest rates. So, even though the Feds didn't lower rates, we are seeing that the price still stayed resilient for Bitcoin, and it's still over $1 million. However, as we have seen historically, anytime the Feds cut the interest rates, pretty much all stocks, most stocks, and most crypto rise, because that means that there's more money people can put into high-risk assets, and Bitcoin is one of these high-risk assets. The stock market is another one of these high-risk assets. So people can borrow money at a cheaper rate. This is the idea. So if they can borrow money at a cheaper rate, they can then put more money into these risk-on assets. So anytime the Fed cuts the rate, generally the stock market pumps, and of course Bitcoin will also pump, and the whole crypto sphere on a whole will pump. As Bitcoin goes, everything else goes as well. Now, we also talked about the M2 global money supply a minute ago, and that's also we're right here. The M2 money supply has now spiked, and if we look at the Bitcoin price, again, even though we have followed this track exactly as we see here, we're now right here at this point, and I'm anticipating that it looks like within a week we should see this kind of pump here. So February 2nd, March, April, May. So it's following pretty much 3 months after. And once 3 months almost to the number. So interestingly enough, this might also coincide with some good news that Trump's going to have about these China tariff talks, which I think they're going to wrap up on Tuesday. So who knows, by Tuesday, maybe they'll actually have a deal. He said things are going well. He went to Qatar. They basically gave him an airplane, and he's going to use it for his travels until his presidency is done in 2028, and then he's going to take ownership of the airplane after that. It's like a private jet. So must be nice, eh? You go visit a place and people are gifting you a freaking private jet. I'm sure they're talking, instead of saying, wow, that's great, they're saying, conflict of interest, blah, 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 he shouldn't be accepting this. So they have to say it's not a gift or some bullshit excuse like that. But ultimately, I'm sure it's a gift. So look for some big things to come in the next week. Even though the price is up, I have been over the past couple days buying on the high. I'm not waiting for the dip because, I've bought the dip quite a bit in the past, and I've continued to put some money in, but this time over the weekend I've been buying the highs. I'm anticipating something like this. Now, in terms of altcoins, where I'm looking at, in alts are the gaming and AI coins. So I'm big on Superverse, a big gaming coin. They basically are, all the games are going to be using their infrastructure. I'm big on AVAX, Avalanche. I'm big on Echelon Prime. BitTensor is really the leader of that sphere. So as BitTensor goes, the rest of these AI infrastructure coins will go. But BitTensor is just at a huge price already. It's like $450. Some of these smaller ones, you'll see a lot more gains in the smaller ones than you would see in BitTensor. So those three are good. Related to gaming or AI infrastructure is I like Algorand, which is a mining company. It's got a long way to go back to its all-time highs. I like Doge. It's hard not to put something into XRP. Big things coming soon for XRP, but ultimately where the Ethereum price goes, you're going to see the price of some of these altcoins going as well. I'll bring up another screen here and give a good example of really how things go in the Bitcoin sphere. What you generally will see is something like this. The Bitcoin price will pump. So you'll see the Bitcoin price pump. Then everybody's watching what Bitcoin does. Okay, and Bitcoin generally will do some of this stuff. Okay, so this is Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin pumps. Everybody's watching Bitcoin. All the money's in Bitcoin, right? Then Bitcoin generally will start going sideways. And this is where people buy some Bitcoin and they say, hey, I'm doing pretty good in Bitcoin. Why don't I try in some of the other coins? And then this is where you're going to start to see these altcoins pump. So the money then starts to flow down from Bitcoin into these shit coins, right? Including Ethereum. Ethereum is the first. Once you see Ethereum start pumping, then that means money and all the liquidity is going out of Bitcoin. Not all of it, but a portion of money is going out of Bitcoin and into Ethereum, and then subsequently into these alts, right? And when you get into these alts, right, then these things, it's not going to take a lot of money that comes out of Bitcoin and goes into these alts to make these things pump, because when we're talking about market cap on these shit coins, they're not into the trillion. They're barely 10 million, right? So if you double the liquidity in one of these alts, then the price is going to pump. So what you have to be aware of, though, when this is kind of this is the beginning of alt season. Sorry, I put Ethereum Classic there. Ethereum. This is when it happens, when the money starts going into leaving Bitcoin, going into Ethereum, and then subsequently money is then taken out of there, going into these alts, and then the alts end up doing this, right? Because suddenly the altcoin went from $10 million market cap or $50 million or something, and it'll double or triple or quadruple. And these things will then go up, but then you'll see them also go down. So, make no mistake, guys, when you're putting your money into these altcoins, and really any of this is not financial markets. This is not based on any kind of reality at all. This is based on 100%, even Bitcoin, based on 100% speculation, right? there's nothing, there's no company behind these things, right? And if there are, in many cases, these are, rug pulls. So what's going to happen is the owner and everybody else will love it because the prices will pump on some altcoin, and you'll put your money in. Ideally, you get in here before the price pumps. If you start getting in here, not a good idea. You're already screwed, right? You want to get in low, and there's still time for most of these coins. I really see the next big pump. We saw Ethereum finally starting to push toward its all-time high, but it's nowhere near its all-time high. Once this gets to its all-time high, then we can start looking at perhaps the peak of these alts as well. If you can get in here, right, this is ideal for these altcoins, and then you can get out anywhere from this line I drew and from here to here. If you get out anywhere in here, you've made a pretty penny, ideally 10, 20, 30x. If you buy in here, if you wait and oh yeah, Echelon Prime is kicking butt now, I'm gonna jump into that now. Well, if you get in here, you're really hoping that the price gets up to here. You might be screwed completely. If you're going to get in, ideally the time to get in would have been way over here when the whole world was saying, oh, Bitcoin's dead, this coin is dead, they're all dead, and you're getting in at 2 cents. Now maybe the price is 10 cents, right? Giving an example. But when the price goes up to $3-4 here, or let's say it's $2 here, you're really risking it. Additionally, no one is going to watch this stuff for you. Make no mistake, everybody's in this to make money. You're going to get these crypto guys you might watch out there saying, oh, we're in this together. Bullshit. Because when it's time to sell, what do you think they're in it for? Everybody's in this to make money. So when it comes to selling time, it's every man for himself, right? So get in low. That way, if you sell anywhere in here, this 80% kind of area between here and here, even if you're selling on the way down, oh, I missed the complete peak. Okay, you still have a chance to sell in here. Fine, you still made a pretty penny. If you're trying to get in here, you're already too late. Don't bother. Wait for the next cycle. So this is effectively how things go in the crypto market, and it's been the same over and over. So this gives you a fair understanding of how the whole crypto market works. Money goes into Bitcoin, then eventually Bitcoin starts kind of going sideways, and it's consistently do this. Then people start putting their money into Ethereum. They start putting their money into alts because they get confident. The newbie shuffle, right? This is what it's called. Hey, I'm good. I made some money on Bitcoin and Ethereum. Let me now try some lower coins, right? And most of these guys who do this basically end up losing their shirt. But I don't want anybody out there, none of my viewers, losing anything. So stay on top of this stuff. This is not financial advice. In fact, you will lose money, right? If you're not on top of this thing at all times, if you don't get in at this low time frame, you are going to lose your shirt. We're not great savvy investors here. We don't claim to have these great investments, financial analyst jobs. We're dumb. This is why we're playing it like this. We're playing it so we don't have to fuck around with these ups and downs. We want to just buy it on the low price. We want to wait it out till everything peaks, and then, till we see that Ethereum all-time high, and then we're going to dump it. And remember, again, this is not any kind of financial advice. If you listen, I don't want anyone to lose any money, but you very well might lose money here. Certainly, if you're new to crypto, I wouldn't even go into those coins I mentioned before, right? just stick to, 1, 2, 3 coins, Bitcoin, maybe Ethereum now, just for this cycle. But I wouldn't really recommend Ethereum at all. I stay away from it. I'm Bitcoin, Solana, XRP. These are good, safe ways to go. And I'm sure no one's going to listen, right? Because everybody wants the 30x, the 50x. They see these teenagers going from $300 to 20 million and retiring. So we all want that. But know that you could lose your shirt, right? Keep that in mind. You need to be watching these things daily. It's not the kind of thing where you're going to buy it and, I'm going to wait and, I'm not going to watch it. Things will go up. I'll know when to get out. I'm going to hear the news. No one's going to tell you shit. You're in this on your own, right? Just keep that in mind. I don't want anyone to lose money out there. Nobody wants to. But again, these crypto, shows that you see where everybody pretends to be your friend, make no mistake, when it's time to sell, they all want the same thing, right? There's going to be people left behind in all these cryptos that lose their money. When a coin goes up and you sell it, someone has to buy this coin, right? So ultimately, there's winners and there's losers. The loser is going to be the person that buys the coin at the high price. The winners are going to be the people who sell the coin at the high price. So don't be that guy who's buying in at this high price. Be the guy who buys in at the low price, has some time, 2, 3, 4 months to sit around, let these prices go up, and also keep in mind, there's going to be some big downturns. You don't want to chicken out and sell too early. There's coins that, in fact, everything. There's this false all-time high where you think that, okay, it's peaked out. I've done this before too. I bought Ethereum last cycle, $100, $150, I believe it was, and no, it was 100, and it went up to 1,500, something like this. And I was, I made so much money. All right, I sold it, and the price went up to like $5,000. So again, there's this false all-time high, and I feel like right now is potentially what's happening with this false all-time high. But if we go back to the M2 money supply, again, this is not financial advice. Like, people are going to lose their frickin' shirt, so don't bet your house on this stuff, right? Bet what you can afford. It's just like another financial asset. You're not going to sell your house and buy Apple stock, right? But you can put 5 or 10% or something like this, take a bit of a risk and hope that you do well. But as we see here, the M2 global money supply, we are seeing a big jump, and the Bitcoin price hasn't taken that into effect yet. This is a huge peak from the low here. And so in 1 month, effectively from January 5th until February 9th, look at the jump in the M2 money supply. This is something that very closely follows the Bitcoin. So I'm anticipating something along those lines. Again, not financial advice, but historically, as we've shown here, this seems to be the trend, and we can only base this on historical trends. We don't really know what's going to happen. The whole crypto market, the whole financial market, NASDAQ, NYSE, you name it, S&P, global markets, they all base so much on news. So right now, what we're looking for, number one, of course, we are looking at the M2 money supply, and also what we're looking at is good news, the latest shenanigans have been around the tariff. So we're looking for anything good in the tariff talk. Once the negotiations go well with tariffs, then we'll see the stock market and the cryptosphere start to do very well. Once we see the interest rates get cut, also you're going to see the stock market do very well. In terms of the M2 money supply, we've already talked about it quite a bit. Here it is on a wider view, and you can see this huge peak right at the very end that we had zoomed in on. So I anticipate also in the next really week, if we're going to follow the trend here, the price is going to really pump on the biddy. So the CryptoAnalyst says that 2025 will be the year of Bitcoin. Hits the market peak and unveils their upside price targets for Bitcoin. CryptoAnalyst who nailed Bitcoin's pre-halving correction last year believes that the final stages of the Bitcoin bull market are underway. Pseudonymous analyst Rect Capital tells his 550,000 followers on X that a new Bitcoin 4-year cycle has begun. The analyst says the 1 year of the new cycle typically sends Bitcoin to levels never seen before. 2025 will be the year of Bitcoin bull market peak. 2026 will be the year of the Bitcoin bear market. And 2027 will be the bottoming out year to precede an entirely new future cycle bull market. Yeah, we know that. We've talked about this quite a bit. And this happens every single 4 years so far. Before we get into the story, let's quickly go into some charting here, and let's change this to all, and we've got Bitcoin. All, I didn't have this set up. No, this is definitely not all the information. I don't have time to quickly make the changes here that we need, but 1 month, let's go here 1 day, let's zoom right out. It's only giving us 2018. I've got to make some adjustments to it here, but basically looking at the previous cycle peaks, so this would be the down year after 2016. 2017 was the cycle peak. 2018 price lower. 2018, 2019, you see the price down here. This is the M2. We're looking at the colored green and red for the Bitcoin price. The price lower, then we've got the 2020 to 2021 cycle peaks. We've got the lower price in 2022. So the same kind of thing that Rect Capital is saying. After we peak out here, we peak out, then the price is going to dip into the lower lows beginning the next cycle. Rect says tends to print the steepest rallies of its bull market after entering the fresh 4-year cycle, and here he's got it written out where I didn't, but effectively let's go into 2016, which is the year of the halving. Then 2012, the year of the halving. 2013, the year after the halving, is the big cycle peak. Then the price goes down the following year. Then you're talking about the lower price kind of 2 years later, then the halving 2016, then the cycle peak the year after the halving, then again lower, and so on and so on. So we're expecting that the cycle peak is going to happen this year because this is the year after the halving. Halving was last year, April 20th of 2024. The year after the halving this year, cycle peak. and then we're going to drop, if history holds true, generally after November of the year of the cycle peak. So be ready for it, guys. You know, I don't know what to say. Again, not financial advice, but for me, between October and November, I'm going to be ready to dump all my shit on, sell everything I've got, and I don't care who's buying it at that point. Someone wants to buy it, someone's grandmother's buying it who's got all the money. By all means, like I said, everyone is going to be on their own at that point. If we go through history, October to November, the year after the halving, has been the cycle peak every single time thus far. So I'm anticipating the same kind of thing this year. Everybody says, oh, this cycle is going to be different. And what can I say? If I sell in October, November, and the price continues to go up, well, I'll feel a little bad. But if the prices are up so much that I made a reasonable profit because, you know, I bought on the low, how can I be upset with that? When everybody else in the S&P is getting, 6% and being happy with that, and then we're talking here in the crypto sphere, 10x kind of prices, and how can you not be happy with this, right? It's 2025, the year of the Bitcoin parabolic rally into the new bull market peak. This phase of the cycle only comes around once every 4 years. This could very well be one of the most defining years of your life if you play it right. Zooming in on Bitcoin wrecked shares, a chart suggesting that Bitcoin will initially climb to around 150,000 before witnessing another consolidation and igniting a final leg up en route to 200,000. This Bitcoin cycle has a story of reaccumulation ranges, but also downside deviations from these ranges. This will probably continue. This is what I was saying before, where I sold too early with the example of Ethereum, where I thought, yeah, we're at the cycle, yeah, sell, cycle peak. No, sold too early, and then it continued to go up. Why? Because there were these big downturns of 30 to 40%, and everybody starts shitting their pants and selling, and this is, it's going down forever, and no, it continued. This was not the cycle peak. So here he's got a reasonable chart where he's talking about these downturns, right? So this is 2025 so far. There have been these downturns, which it doesn't look like much in these charts, but this is 30, 40% in a couple days. And this is where people start shitting their pants, selling everything. And then the smart people come in, the whales come in, the institutions come in, the governments come in, and they're buying all the coins that these guys are selling. So keep that in mind. And again, here they've got their zone of upside. This is approximately now, right? May to July. Then he's got a drop zone here, which he's got circled. And then this is the 30% downturn that I was talking about, that, it's hard not to be fooled to say that this is the cycle peak because the price starts going down. But again, it's going to then jump again, as it does when you least expect it, to complete its cycle. And if history holds true, we're talking October to November of the year after the halving, which is this year exactly. So if we go into the previous halving, here you have it, November 11th, 2021. So if we want some kind of exact timeline, I can't give it, but I can tell you that the previous all-time high was reached October 22nd until November 11th, and then the price subsequently dropped quite a bit after that. Continued to drop until for over a year approximately, and then here we have December of the following year, is the cycle low. So like I was saying before, if you got in at these prices, if you bought, December of 2022, right now, it didn't matter what you bought. You could have bought Bitcoin, you could have bought Avalanche, you could have bought Ethereum, XRP, Doge, you name it. And right now, you'd be sitting on your couch, sitting pretty. If you think that, I'm going to buy now, which is kind of like, I'm seeing it like this exactly in terms of previous cycle. This here being this area, this dip being this dip here, and then we've kind of climbed back up a little bit. So this right here, this square right here where I've got the cross hash, that's, if we were going to equate it to the previous cycle, this is kind of where I'm seeing it, our current period right now. So there's still quite a bit to go up, and again, anticipate a drop where everybody, oh my god, that's the end of it, sell your shirt. But it may not be the end, because again, like what happened last time, another peak came up. But once you get toward the end of the year, October, November, make no mistake, don't be that person who loses their shirt. And if you do, don't be that person who sells. Like if it gets to the point where you're on vacation, or you haven't been watching your phone, and the cycle peak passes in October, November, and everything drops to shit, and it's worth nothing, and everybody's saying, oh, it's going, that's it, it's done forever. I would recommend at that point you actually start averaging down and buying in at these low prices. In an ideal world, you sell at the cycle peak, you wait a year, you start buying at these cycle lows, and when the next cycle peak like now comes along, you're sitting on your couch just waiting and enjoying the profits, because there's nothing but profits when you're buying at these lows. And this is what I really recommend in terms of how to follow this crypto, or at least historically how this has been playing out. I feel like the same kind of thing is going to play out this time. Why would it be any different? It's done already this 4 times. It could certainly be different, and that's why I have to always give this disclaimer of not financial advice. However, if we're looking at history, it's done this before. We can reasonably assume it's doing it again. If you were going to talk to any savvy investor who knew about crypto, who's been following the market, they would probably talk about the same kind of thing with these cycle peaks. So folks, best wishes to everybody. So happy Mother's Day. Remember folks, money is everywhere, money is abundant. It is time that's scarce. There's $900 trillion of assets in the world, so go get some assets. But in the meantime, use your time wisely, because that's the most scarce asset of all. Spend less money than you earn, because that'll help you stay in the green. If you start suddenly making more money, start saving more money. Don't start spending more money, and start investing and saving when you're young, hopefully in your late teens or early 20s. And you can retire when you're 40 or 45. If you've got a great idea, start with that idea today. Read the great books that I've got in the comments section, and this will go a long way in helping you gain the financial literacy that'll help you get through this turmoil of finances and life, and never let you be on the negative side of the curve, and never let the banks take advantage of you, etc., etc. Hopefully, folks, you found this stream enjoyable and knowledgeable. If you did, please share, like, comment, and if you haven't, please do subscribe. It would help greatly, and we will see you on the next stream. Folks, thanks so much for watching.